Nick Brousianos from Cannabreeze, and today we're going to discuss about extraction method and trends. A few words about us. We are a B2B distributor of leading manufacturers and services specialized in the medical cannabis sector. We offer end-to-end solutions for the cannabis industry. We have expertise in extraction, cultivation, and packaging, and more. So we offer a 360 approach from plant to medicine. And of course, we are working mostly in Europe so far, so EU GMP compliant facility design through our partners, CIS, which is a common partner with cannabis drying as well. Our core values is customer-focused, quality, integrity, innovation, accountability, and collaboration, especially collaboration because it's not only our team that is working in this industry, it's all our partners that we use their teams, their brains, and their knowledge in order to combine the information that is needed in order to provide these services and offer them to the facilities. We started from Greece 6 years ago, and then we realized that Greece is going to take a lot of time until actual things are going to happen. And then slowly we started to expand in Israel, North Macedonia, and today we also have presence in Austria, Switzerland, Portugal, Spain, and slowly we're getting into South Africa as well. So the global pharmaceutical cannabis market is projected to reach 55 billion, depending on who is calculating this number might vary. And by 2028, it is estimated, Europe is estimated to become the largest pharmaceutical cannabis market. And with that, we go again to the topic of EU GMP that was discussed before. And I just mentioned here some important notes like quality assurance, documentation and record keeping, premises and equipment, personnel, quality control, quality risk management, and batch testing is some of the core ideas here. Cannabis extracts encompass a broad spectrum of products that contain higher concentrations of cannabinoids compared to the levels found in the unprocessed cannabis plant. Cannabis extracts exhibit a wide variety in their THC and CBD content and other cannabinoids. Some extracts, distillates, isolates, can have exceptionally high content of THC, reaching up to 99%. And there is a diverse range of cannabis products catering to various preferences. Then there are the terpenes and the minor cannabinoids, which is a topic, an interesting topic that we could discuss, but we're going to discuss at another point. But what we need to think about here is how important are the terpenes and the minor cannabinoids on our end products, because this can potentially affect which extraction methods we will choose and even which drying method. And we see this as a total solution. So terpenes is a decision. We are working with some facilities, for instance, that they don't have it as a high priority to maintain them. So they go, like, say, with decarboxylation prior to CO2 extraction. But slowly we see that terpenes are playing an important role in the final products, and people are starting to get more interested into preserving and into finding ways into maintaining it while also having, let's say, decarboxylated oil. So I would like to start by talking about supercritical CO2 extraction. It is our preferred method of extraction that can be used with or without ethanol as a co-solvent. So we use high pressure and heat to turn CO2 into a supercritical state so that it can separate the desired cannabis components from the plant matrix. At the end of its cycle, CO2 is condensed and turned into reusable liquid, making this method not only economical, but also environmental friendly. What I mentioned here is with ethanol as a co-solvent. This is an important option that this method offers because there is the classic CO2 extracts, which normally you would need to decarboxylate the material before extraction, but there is also the option of doing CO2 extraction on a non-decarboxylated material with ethanol as a co-solvent. And this gives some of the benefits of the ethanol extraction while using an automated system and small amounts of ethanol in the end. So why supercritical CO2? The purity of the oils is considered the highest purity, especially for pharmaceutical applications. It's safe and non-toxic. You can do extraction of terpenes as a subcritical extraction prior to your normal extraction. So there are recipes where you can decide to first extract the terpenes. Supercritical CO2 is generally being used for extracting essential oils and terpenes in other industries for many years. So there is a big experience in that field. And it can start with extracting terpenes and then move move on into extracting cannabinoids. It's efficient and clean. It offers a very high level of compliance. We know that through the years and through the facilities that manage to certify such system within the EU and are now working and offering this product. So it's a tested and proven methodology, and especially the manufacturer that we are working with. It offers compliance, selectivity. This is something that only supercritical CO2 can do. It can specifically target cannabinoids and leave some other things behind. This could be of interest, for instance, if you're doing CBD oils, where you don't want to take the THC within your oil and you want to leave most of it back. And in some other cases, when you are working with hemp flowers and you have some minor cannabinoids that you want to isolate initially, you can start by targeting these specific cannabinoids and leaving other things behind. It's a low-cost solvent, it's residue-free, and it offers high-quality extracts. Here we can see a specific arrangement of a triple CO2 extraction system. This offers some additional benefits because imagine if you have one vessel, you will need to do the extraction, wait for the pressure to drop, wait for it to unfreeze potentially, and then empty the basket, put a new material in, and start the process again. When we have, let's say, two vessels, let's say a double extraction system, you can use the two vessels in order to balance the pressure within the two vessels when you stop extracting from the first one. And this again allows you some additional time so you can change and move to the next material. In the case when you have a triple extraction system, it can potentially offer like 30% more efficiency depending on your recipe time and your process. You can imagine that you can use even two vessels at the same time and the third vessel is not being used. So it allows you more time to change and put new material while having a complete continuous cycle, where in some cases you can even start by extracting from the first vessel. And let's say when you remove the 80% of the oils that you are interested, you can continue to run through this first vessel and also run through the second vessel, which means the first vessels offer less, how it's called? It doesn't offer a lot of less resistance as the material has less oil. So you can do the first and the second vessel at the same time while taking the time to extract the last, let's say, 20% of cannabinoids. And at the same time, you can use the third vessel to change and put a new material. And this goes afterwards to the second and third vessel and then the first and etc. Another extraction method that is quite famous is the ethanol, which is considered a universal solvent due to having both polar and non-polar properties. And why? Ethanol is the easiest solvent to use, it's cost-effective, it's scalable, it's effective, and relatively safe. There are two ways commonly used in the ethanol extraction, what we call, let's say, warm extraction, which can get a quick full-spectrum oil out of the plant, and the cryogenic ethanol extraction, where it allows for the wax to stay behind, although in some cases you don't get maximum yield. So there are cases where facilities decide to do first the cryogenic ethanol extraction and then move into warm ethanol extraction at the second stage. Another interesting extraction, water extraction. It's a solvent-free method that immerses the cannabis plant in water. The plant is stirred in cold water and ice, which cause the trichome heads to separate from the plant. In a way, it's like, let's say, moving a tree and looking for to fall. As the trichome heads fall off the plants, we pass them through screens, which, let's say, we have a specific average diameter of the trichome heads, and you have the screen where it filters and it keeps those trichome heads in the separate place, so undesirables get filtered away. Then when you collect these trichome heads, you normally use a freeze dryer where you remove the water and dry the material. And then you can do rosin press in order to extract the oil. So some advantages of water extraction: it's safe, natural, organic, no residues, environmental friendly, cost efficiency. It can also be used in fresh frozen material, which then goes to the discussion about terpene preservation. So as you can imagine, if you take a plant and you put it in a fridge, and then immediately you extract this plant, you will keep more terpenes than going through the classic process. and it offers a very high market value, especially in the recreational markets in the US, but also in the edibles markets. It's considered a very clean way of extracting plants. Here you can see a stage after water extraction where you press with heat and you press with heat the material and you extract the oil out of it. Another extraction method mainly used in the US and Canada, but also has been used in Europe and other countries for extracting essential oils since many years ago. It's the hydrocarbon solvents extraction with solvents such as butane or propane or a combination of those two that are used in order to extract cannabinoid terpenes from the cannabis plant. In general, within Europe, there are debates whether this type of extraction can take place. Some people believe yes, some people believe that they might be able to do it for some years, but at some point they will guide everyone to avoid using such solvents, because also there is a market trend in general not to use such solvents even with the ACs and in general with the environment and with safety manners. A new extraction method that we started working with through our partners Maratec is the vapor static method, where you vaporize the material and then you cool it and you condense it. And it's a method which is very low in cost and also very fast. So far, we haven't managed to collect terpenes through this method, but the manufacturer is working on it. But in some cases, terpenes are not needed or not desired. So if you want to extract a lot of material at the lowest possible cost, this is a good way to do it. And it is used with great success in edibles and some other products where you don't have a priority for having terpenes on your mix. Winterization and dewaxing. After the CO2 extraction method, there is a lot of waxes that are left. And in other methods, there is a lot of waxes that are left. So in order to remove the waxes, you need to crystallize them and filter them. This happens through homogenizing the material with ethanol, then winterizing it, meaning letting it cold for a period of, let's say, 24 hours or 48 hours, where the waxes are condensed. And then you can filter these waxes easier through a multi-filtration system. There could be a Buckner funnel that can do that, like a simple vessel with a filter, like a coffee filter, let's say, or closed-loop integrated systems where they pre-wash the filters with cold ethanol, and then they run the system, the oil multiple times, so you can achieve a great purity of waxes and also safety of a closed-loop system. And then, of course, you have a material that is dissolved in ethanol, and you need to use a rotary evaporator or another system in order to evaporate the ethanol and collect the oil. In case you haven't decarboxylated the material, the oil, before extraction, you can then at a later stage do the carboxylation of the oil. Here you can see a rotary evaporator doing exactly that. And then we move into distillation. Distillations allow you to create cannabis extracts that are pure and offer higher cannabinoid concentration. The extract contains a mixture of components besides the pure cannabinoids. It's a distill. In most cases, there are 2 passes or maybe 3 potentially, depending on how pure you want your oil to reach, how high purity of THC, let's say, you want to achieve. So in the first pass, it's under a moderate vacuum in order to get the lighter components like remaining ethanol from the previous processes and terpenes. So potentially you can separate terpenes during the first pass of the distillation. And then you go to the second pass where 0 ethanol should be present because it affects the process. And then you can remove the light ends. The cannabinoids themselves can also be further distilled, and the remaining oil starts to have higher concentration of cannabinoids. If you want to go further than how far can distillation take you, there is a process called centrifugal partition chromatography, where one of the liquid phases of the 2-phase system is used as a stationary liquid phase, while the latter is spinning at a moderate rotational speed. In this way, you can separate completely, let's say, THC from CBD, but of course it can happen in other minor cannabinoids as well, and you can end up with what we call isolates, or potentially you can call them API. So this is a process similar to flash chromatography but without the need of silica columns and other materials. And also it can go the other way around. For instance, if you have a cannabinoid that is at the end of the diagram, you can start from the end instead of starting from the beginning, which makes it a very fast and a very efficient method. And it can also work in big scales, like an industrial scale, where flash chromatography sometimes it's limited in size. Something I'd like to mention is that for each category of concentrates, there are specific uses, either in the medical market or the recreational market. Of course, there are methods that have overlapping products, but the market many times requests and has needs for specific extraction method because it has the specific effects on the final oil. Here you can see a diagram of our services and systems that we are offering, from consulting to the final packaging of the goods. And we are here to help you in every stage of your facility. And also, if you want to ask me any questions, now it's a good time. So I'm here to answer any questions somebody might have.
And Nick, I'll ask you a question first. In terms of trends and global trends, you're at the ethanol supercritical solventless extraction. I find it quite an exciting space. And what are you seeing at the moment in terms of popular methods for extraction, and which regions in the world are you seeing sort of hotspots for evolution of the extraction process?
From what we see in Europe, of course, CO2 is the most established method so far. And it's an extraction method which has the connotation of quality and high-end products. And we've seen many facilities, for instance, they want to start with one extraction method and they want to enter the pharmaceutical market. They most of the times go for CO2, or it's the first method they are evaluating. Of course, there are facilities that they like more the ethanol extraction method due to the speed of the process or the way you can extract oils without having to take care of the waxes. And it is an established method, but a method that we see to have a lot of requests lately, and it's, let's say, getting more awareness, is the water extraction method. And we see facilities also within Europe doing the EU GMP type of documentation and certifications for such systems. We also see requests from this area here, from South Africa as well. And in general, I think it's a method that it's gonna go more, we're going to have more of it in the future. Although there are questions with regards to compliance, and also it's important to understand which market are you targeting. If you're targeting the local market here, it might be a very easy way, and you can potentially do it without having to do a very big investment. If you want to take the same extraction method and bring it to Europe by calling it an EU GMP extraction method, then there is a lot of questions that need to be answered. And it has also to do with the facility design, and you need to see it as a system.
So in South Africa in particular, what are you seeing? You're saying solventless extraction is of interest to local industry players?
It is. And not only here, all around Europe and Israel, there are discussions about water extraction, which I would say 3-4 years ago were almost zero.
On the question of the water extraction, on your slide, you had charos hand rubbed material on there. Now, those of us that are a bit older in this would recognize that that's a traditional way of extract.
Yeah.
Is there likely to be a bit of a market for that? Is there a developing market? Because that's almost going in the same way as the water extraction, isn't it? It's going back from the solvents.
Of course, it's probably the first and most ancient extraction method, the one you mentioned, like charos, meaning with the hands, etc. And for sure, for the recreational market in some areas, rural areas of India, and I don't know where, there's gonna still be using these methods. Potentially in the future that you have, let's say, a more open recreational market or adult use market, potentially like users might ask for different types of products if they have the option. But if you're building a facility, a big facility, and you do a big investment, you want to have the most effective way of doing things. So I wouldn't say that this type of method is efficient and effective so much. But using water makes everything very effective. So you leave everything behind. The material is more clean because of the way water is used. So you end up with a more pure product. So in the end, I think methods as CO2 extraction, water extraction, these type of methods, they're gonna continue growing. But any type of extraction method, as you see also here and as you mentioned, is interesting, and there are always ways to optimize it.
What's been done with, if you could say, the raw outcome of water extraction? Has it been marketed just as that? Is it been generally pressed into rosin? Is it been put into vapes? What's happening with that as a sort of, what products is that finding its way into?
Most of the time it's getting pressed, as you said, of course in vapes, etc. And also sometimes they go into edibles. And sometimes they get it as a live rosin, ready to be used. Or even in oils. You can make all type of products with almost every extraction method. The thing is like, which extraction method is the best match for your final products, depending on your final products, but also in the market that you wish to enter.
Thanks, Adrian from Maluti Green in Lesotho. We've got Bernard now from Seven Blade.
I just got a quick question also around the solvent-less extracts. And that being said, there's a big market in the US right now for solvent-less vape carts. The only downside with that is that not everyone's making a good quality version of it. So a lot of the terpenes that everyone's trying to preserve and get caught up in that vape cart, a lot of people are actually losing during the process of decarboxylation or getting it to the right consistency to work in a vape cart. So there's that issue that I'm afraid South Africa will tend to, everyone will hunt biomass and not worry about specific terpenes that will come from specific strains, and just try and make money out of it quickly, like make a whole bunch of solventless carts that all taste the same, that taste even worse than distillate ones, give you a headache, whatever the case, and blame it on the actual gear or whatever. And then what are we going to do about that? I mean, the whole niche about it is to be able to taste those terpenes, to be able to express it as an organic product. And that's the convenience of a vape cart, is to have your medicine accessible quickly. So the question is, how long is that market going to be a niche because of this? Or is everyone just going to fall back onto convenience is key, let me hit my distillate and get my fix?
So let's break it down a little bit and take it part by part. First of all, the most important part of every extract is the starting material. So starting with a good material, meaning initial state of the starting material and how it was dried and what amount of terpenes were there prior to extraction is very important. So if you're starting with a good material with high concentration of cannabinoids and terpenes, and you either have a nice drying process or you freeze the material, we say that we can think about this material having everything we need, getting in the water extraction system. So if you do that, of course, you might lose some of it, but you're gonna collect most of it. Now, you correctly discussed about decarboxylation. Decarboxylation is a high heat process, meaning that if you do decarboxylate an oil, you need to do it in a closed system. Let's say, as we discussed previously, during distillation, potentially, you can separate. Or there are other systems like the terp reactor and some other systems that we can discuss, where you decarboxylate and you also keep the terpenes within the same vessel. So there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of developments into maintaining terpenes within your decarboxylated oil. So there are solutions and they are working, and actually there are options from small size to bigger size. Although, as we discussed, people and quality comes from the facilities, it comes from their materials. So if there are facilities that want to make quick profit without doing the due diligence or the right investments or the right care for their plants, the genetics and everything that goes into it, of course they're gonna be bad products. But in the end, the market will decide. Of course, maybe they can make a quick profit by selling them locally or out of nowhere, by saying it's live rosin, and people will just buy it for that. But eventually, if there are better options, like with every market, with every product, hopefully the good ones, they're gonna keep going and the bad ones are gonna be thrown out of the market.
Hi, Nick. I'm Mohammed Badat from Buffalo Extraction Systems. Hello, everybody. You mentioned with the SCFECO2 that you were able to specific certain cannabinoids. I just wanted to know, how is that possible, or what parameters you use, especially when THC and CBD boiling points are quite similar. How would you do that?
I wouldn't say that you completely isolate and leave everything behind, but you can target CO2 as you know, probably it has selectivity. And based on the parameters and the extraction curves, you can see also depending on the vessel size, you do some runs and you get your extraction curves. And through these extraction curves, you can see where it's more efficient to extract THC and let's say less efficient to extract CBD. And you target these specific curves, which means that you will get more of the THC out. For instance, now a new development is that the manufacturer managed to remove, let's say, THC from CBD plants because they target it. Of course, it's not like a CPC or centrifugal partition chromatography. It's a CO2 extraction system.
But yeah, that's why I was asking. So it won't be specific to that cannabinoid. There will be other cannabinoids present.
Yes, there will be. It's not gonna come out from the extraction system as the distillate. That would be magic, and we will.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to know what technology that you have that we don't.
that would be amazing if you press a button and you get isolate out of the CO2 extraction system. Who knows? Maybe if it's combined with CO2 chromatography and some other systems, maybe at some point.
In future.
You will never be able to do that. It's maybe you will lose 50% of it. Maybe then we need to discuss about yield loss because as you know, each process, there is some loss. So you need to take it step by step in order to avoid losing as much as possible.